The lake lay silent, its surface smooth as glass beneath the pale, indifferent light of the full moon. No wind stirred the trees, no fish broke the water with a leap. It was as if the entire valley held its breath, waiting for something unseen, something inevitable. On the far side of the lake, half hidden in shadow, the broken tip of a spire jutted from the water like a finger pointing toward the heavens. That spire was all that remained of St. Aurelius Monastery, a holy place once devoted to prayer, silence, and bells. Now it was drowned, consumed by the flood when the dam was built decades ago. The villagers said that though the walls had crumbled and the monks' bones lay buried in silt, the monastery had never gone quiet. At midnight, when the moon was full, the drowned bell would ring. Adrian had heard the story his entire childhood. His grandmother would whisper it while stoking the fire, warning him never to linger near the lake at night. "The bell calls the restless," she said. "It does not ring for the living. If it tolls for you, the water will claim you." He never believed her. Legends were for children, and he was no longer a child. And yet here he stood, lantern in hand, heart thudding painfully as he stared across the black waters toward the spire. The tavern had been loud earlier that evening. His friends dared him, pushing mugs of beer into his hands, telling him he wouldn't last an hour alone by the lake. Adrian, proud and reckless, accepted. He told himself it was just a story, a trick of echoes and imagination. But now, with the tavern far behind him and only the whisper of reeds at his feet, he wasn't so sure. The air was heavy, too heavy, as if the world itself pressed down upon him. The church clock in the distant village struck midnight. Its echoes died away, leaving a silence so complete it roared in his ears. And then, faintly, impossibly, he heard it. Bong. The sound rose from the depths, muffled and yet deep enough to make the stones at his feet vibrate. Adrian froze, the lantern flickering in his trembling grip. Bong. The water rippled, though no wind touched its surface. He stepped back, his boot crunching against gravel, but his eyes remained fixed on the spire. Bong. The third toll rolled through the valley, heavy, mournful, eternal. And beneath it he swore he heard something else. Whispers. Voices carried not by air, but by the water itself. He strained to listen. They were chanting, words in Latin, perhaps, or a language older still. The drowned monks, their prayers twisted into laments. Adrian's throat went dry. He should leave. He should run back to the village and laugh it off as imagination. But the sound rooted him to the spot. The bell wasn't just echoing, it was calling. And though he couldn't explain how, he felt certain it was calling him. The lantern light caught movement near the spire. For a moment he thought it was a bird, a trick of shadow. But then he saw it again, a figure rising from the water, tall, robed, faceless. Water streamed from its sleeves, its cowl, and yet it did not sink. It stood upon the surface as though the lake itself supported it. A monk drowned and returned. Adrian's chest tightened. He stumbled backward, but the figure raised its hand. A soundless command. The tolling of the bell deepened, filling Adrian's head until it was no longer sound but weight, pressing him to his knees. He dropped the lantern. Darkness swallowed the shore. The whispers grew louder. Shapes moved in the water, pale faces breaking the surface. eyes open but lifeless, lips moving in voiceless chants. Dozens of them, perhaps hundreds, the drowned congregation, rising for midnight mass. Adrian's mind screamed at him to flee, but his body betrayed him. His legs moved forward, one step into the shallow water, then another. The cold bit into his skin, numbing him instantly. Still he walked, as if invisible strings pulled him toward the spire. The monk extended its arm, and Adrian saw, through the dripping sleeve, not flesh but bone, a skeletal hand clutching a rusted chain. The chain swayed, and at the end of it hung a fragment of a bell, green with corrosion, yet glowing faintly with some inner fire. "Here," a voice said. It wasn't spoken aloud, but Adrian heard it in the hollow of his skull. Hear the toll of eternity. The water reached his waist. He gasped at the cold, but he could not stop. Faces surrounded him, turning as one to watch. Mouths opened in unison, and from their throats came the sound of the bell. Not air, not echo, but the vibration of deity itself. Bong. He felt his heart stutter. Bong. His vision blurred. Bong. Something broke inside him, and for a moment he felt his soul pulled like breath into the depths. He saw flashes, monks kneeling in prayer as the waters burst through the doors. Their screams drowned mid-song, the abbot clutching the great bell rope, refusing to let go as the ceiling collapsed and the lake consumed him. And then silence. Adrian staggered. For the first time he could move of his own will. He turned, splashing toward the shore, but the water pulled at him like hands. His lantern, still faintly glowing, bobbed in the waves ahead. He lunged for it. His fingers closed around the handle. Light flared. The figures recoiled, hissing like steam. The monk on the water froze, lowering its skeletal hand. Adrian dragged himself to the bank, crawling onto the stones, choking, shivering. Behind him, the bell tolled again, louder, angrier. The faces sank one by one, the whispers fading, but the spire loomed black against the moon. He staggered to his feet and fled into the trees, never once daring to look back. By dawn, he stumbled into the village, pale, trembling, eyes hollow. His friends laughed when they saw him, assuming he had frightened himself with shadows. But Adrian said nothing. He couldn't, for even as he tried to rest, even as the day passed, he heard it still faint, beneath the sounds of the living world. The bell. It had rung for him, and one night soon he knew it would claim him.